Well, this episode of the 7th Valkyrie podcast is brought to you by me, Ori. To get the full experience, including all available seasons, extra artwork, bonus features, and behind-the-scenes content, and maybe a little gift basket from our general store, you can download the 7th Valkyrie app at the link in the description. Have a nice day, and enjoy listening. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the 7th Valkyrie podcast. Last week we got into some silliness with my little exploration of pro wrestling, and in this one we're going to get into a topic that I just think is fascinating. I called this title, or this episode, Hate with a capital H, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But first I want to tell you, it's just a little bit of the context. So, I was watching Louis C.K.'s most recent show from Madison Square Garden recently, and he had a bit about hate that made me think, which first of all is funny because for a while I actually hated him for putting out such great comedy and being so influential into my comedy style, and then being a fucking weirdo, pulling all that shit. And I think that of all the people who have been weirdos, the way he made up for it. What is this word? Not reparation. The way that he tried to make amends for it, I found, in his apology, I found to be compelling. And I do believe that, it should take a lot before people don't deserve a second chance. Obviously, this is a hugely controversial topic, and you may hate me for thinking the way that I do. And he actually jokes about how a lot of people, are like, hey, it's like, a lot of you guys have, probably not told some of your friends that you're coming out here tonight. And he's still mostly canceled. I don't know. Anyway, but so the bit is he talks about like he sees a sign on the door and it says "No hate allowed," and I think that's super progressive. I believe it. I think that it's a great way to talk about how bigotry is not allowed, but he kind of turns it on his head and goes like, what? So like I hate my dad. Like, do I have to just deal with that before I can come into your, little coffee shop? And it was funny because I started to think about it and I was like, and I realized that just like there's a capital L love versus like I love you and like a strong declaration. And just like there is a lowercase L love of like, I love pasta. There is hate with a little h and hate with a capital H. And I kind of started thinking about this. I started getting into it. The problem is that both of them are very intoxicatingly fun and not like fun and immediately gratifying in the short term. Not really in the long term, but definitely in the short term. They are very intoxicating and dangerously so. And it's hard to draw a line between the two of them. Like, for example, I hate the Atlanta Falcons with a little h. I really hate Tottenham Hotspur with a little h. I really really on the edge. My parents' friend Robert, he hates Eagles, not the bird, the band. He's like, just freaking. My little brother hates bad drivers. I hate traffic, irresponsible parents, jellyfish, door-to-door salesmen, all with a little h. With a capital H, I hate fascists, racists, and any tiny-minded people who would rather put the whole world down than put a damn kernel of effort into self-improvement and true joy. I won't name names, but there's a lot of public figures, and I'm sure that, and a lot of people around the world, and I'm sure you could name a few. So that's a big H. Now, it was interesting to be thinking about this because I'm a person who tries to be, whenever I can, super conscious of my actions, and I try to be empathetic. I thank Brene Brown for that. I thank for the many moral teachings of every piece of good art that I've chosen to consume. I thank my family, my community, and the good people that I've been surrounded with. But it was interesting to think about like how gratifying it is to hate because that's sort of oppositional to empathy. It's like if you hate someone, you're not hearing their full story. You're not treating them with the best possible. You're just being like, you're reducing them to something. You're just like, I hate you. And it was interesting as I was thinking about that. It actually kind of helped me frame the two types of hate with a big H and hate with a little h. Because little h hate is just sort of a message to just blow off steam. It's venting anger and frustration. It's like coming up with something to be opposed to because it satisfies our heart. And we know that we don't really, like, people are like, oh, like again, using Robert, like, I hate eagles. And again, it's the fact that, so they're not the eagles, they are just called eagles, which is really funny because it's like, I hate eagles. And it's like, what, the bird? Anyway. But I think in some ways, like, little h hate it's just a part of life. Like, you got to have some things that you don't like. Like, otherwise you're sitting here being like, oh, that mosquito, I need to understand its life and true. It's like, no, you slap that son of a gun. Anyway. But big H hate is when you take action on that. And I'll explain a little further. When you're hating on someone with a little L, you're expressing feelings, but you're also kind of releasing them. Like, I can go on about how I'd like to feed the mom kangaroo from the Horton Hears a Who movie to piranhas, like, personally. Like, I'd like to hold her by her little tail and feed her to piranhas. And then punt her little shithead son into a volcano and watch him burn. That's silly. It's ridiculous. It's outlandish. And afterward, we can both laugh about how an animated kangaroo, parents, made me want to commit, like, graphic, horrible, sadistic murder and throw a kangaroo into a volcano or to piranhas. If you see this movie, you'd understand me, but anyway. But big H hate is when you are holding on and you're taking action on all those feelings of frustration, annoyance, anger, and you hurt people, you kill people, you steal from people, you demean people, you go online and you try to take other people down, you try to take other people's rights away, which is a huge problem in the U.S. and has gotten a lot of hate from me. And it comes from a place of hate. Like, it's like you just want to hold on to those feelings because you don't have anything left. And you're using those human feelings of, like, frustration, annoyance, anger, misunderstanding, and you're using them as an excuse to excuse yourself for your own insecurities, your own failings, your own cowardice and laziness. And that is, like, to me, disgusts me and is also, like, tragic to me. Because ultimately, going back to our old friend Brené, all those feelings come from a place of brokenness and disconnection. And it's really, it really is ultimately tragic that people feel compelled to perform hate. Because hating on something, like, I could be a hater, and it's kind of just like, don't like it. Like, that's part of human nature. But when you capture that, and again, it's, it's a tragic thing because anyone who's hating hates themselves the most, and they're just exposing it. And it really is tragic when those people get into positions of power where they can perform real damage. But yeah, like, it's not a thing of power. It's a place of, like, I'm not weak enough to deal with my shit, so I'm just gonna let it build inside. And I think it's just so cowardly, and there's a reason I get really frustrated about this. I call it getting Roger Watersy because he is very, very outspoken about how he thinks about fascists. I feel somewhat similarly. And again, like, but then I ask, it's like, it's like, is that little h hate, or am I allowing it to grow and fester? So all of this to say, so I mean, there's obviously hate is an emotion that dwells deeply within a lot of people within the 7th Valkyrie. Hate is something that has been embedded into those two societies, Eteran and Freelander. And war fosters hate. And so what I want to explore a lot in the series is how that festers, how it grows, and in some cases, how it can evolve and turn into new understanding. Because there are cases all around the world where hate becomes understanding. People can change. People can learn new perspectives, and they can let go of hate with a capital H. and that's a true thing. And so that's something that I hope for, and that's something that I hope we can all bring less hate into the world than we were given. But yeah, in the meantime, for anyone out there working for capital H hate, who is too weak, too scared, too pathetic to look inside and actually deal with your own shit, and instead is taking it out on others. When I get frustrated, I just want to punt you into a volcano right next to that shithead kangaroo. So, and I hope that that as has been since the beginning of time, we look back on all those people who hated, and their legacy is pathetic. It's pathetic. And we like the way we look at the pictures of people who protested integration, the people who were anti-protesting Black Lives Matter, the people who were marching against the March for Freedom. Like, these are people on the wrong side of history who are so and yeah. Anyway, I could go on for a long time about all the things that I hate with a little h, and the few things that I hate with a capital H. But for now, I'll leave you guys to ponder some of these interesting ideas that maybe I might be wrong about, maybe I might be right about, but I'd love to hear you discuss them on our subreddit, reddit.com/r/the7th Valkyrie. I post all these things. It's also in the app. So if you want to swing by there, I post the podcasts, and I'm pretty active. My boy Keith would know. Him and I like to, chat every once in a while. Leave a few comments. So anyway, all that to say, I think I might have accidentally just bumped my microphone, but if I did, I apologize. Have a good day. Deal with, chew on these interesting topics, and if you want to chat about them, you know where to find me. So have a good one, guys.
Well, thank you for listening to this episode of the 7th Valkyrie podcast, brought to you by me, Ori. To get the full experience, including all available seasons and little bonus bits like extra artwork, features, and behind-the-scenes content, download the 7th Valkyrie app at the link in the description. And y'all hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day.